Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to your NXT Takeover The End preview and predictions.
Yo, what's going on, guys? NXT Takeover The End. It's here. It's now. It's preview and predictions. We have got 5 matches to discuss on this card. And I gotta say, Ashton, I'm looking forward to this show. Should be a lot of fun. I think it's a solid card, to be sure. My most anticipated match might actually surprise some people. We'll get into that. And yeah, what are you thinking about NXT Takeover The End thus far?
I'm telling you, man, if your most anticipated match is the tag titles match, no one's surprised by that.
No, actually, it's the debut of Andrade Cien Almas.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Well, and you know what? That being said, that's going to be the first match that we talk about. As far as my just kind of general overview of the show, it looks all right. It doesn't look anywhere near as good as I thought Dallas looked. I'm not a big fan of Austin Aries, so him as an opponent for Nakamura doesn't get me super hype. Asuka is a great champion, but I'm not really excited about the fact that she's facing Nia Jax. And I love American Alpha and the Revival, and I know they're going to put on an amazing match, but I also feel like it's going to be basically the same match that we already saw at the end. Or at Dallas, yeah. Just feels like a very repetitive card. Asuka Nia isn't necessarily a repeat, but it feels like the kind of match that we have seen before. And Nakamura Aries, I don't know how much that's going to differ from Nakamura Zayn, but I don't think it's going to be that drastically different. And then Joe Balor, we've already seen how many times, you know?
I believe literally this is the 4th time they've met up, right?
Well,
at least that we've seen.
It depends on if you count house shows and stuff, but if you don't count house shows, I think you're right. That's 4.
Wow, that's crazy, man.
And then, of course, American Alpha Revival is another match that we've already seen. So the only really new stuff that we're going to see tonight is that one random, meaningless match between Andrade Cien Almas and Ty Dillinger.
Right.
So it's no surprise that that's the match that you're most excited for. That's the only match that has new stuff in it.
Yeah, really. So with that said, do you want to get right to the card with that as the first match we analyze and break down?
Yeah, might as well. There's not really that much to analyze. I'm pretty confident that Andrade Cien Almas, being a debuting talent, is going to beat Ty.
I would agree with you there 100%.
But it's unfortunate.
It is, and we had a big in-depth conversation about Ty Dillinger on the last NXT Twit Wow. If you guys haven't heard it, I highly recommend you go and you check it out, because even I was very praiseworthy of Dillinger, which is rare, so for no other reason, check it out for that. Let me just ask you a general question, Ashton, looking beyond the horizon of Takeover The End. Do you think Andrade Cien Almas is going to do well in NXT? Like, what do you see his trajectory being? I know we haven't seen him debut yet, so maybe that's a difficult question to answer, but you are somewhat familiar with him as La Sombra. So, do you have any expectations?
Yeah, I'm expecting him to I don't know if I would say steal the show just because Nakamura's on this card, but I think a lot of people are going to come away from that match being very impressed with him.
I really agree. And here's what I would really hope for.
Although, admittedly, before you go into that, I do think there's a very distinct possibility that as impressed as people will be with him, Ty Dillinger might steal some of that spotlight.
And I hope he does. Look, here's my thing. I love how this match came together, because for those that aren't aware, Ty Dillinger, as, the Perfect 10 character, he said, I feel like I've been on a bit of a roll lately. The last episode of NXT, he beat Buddy Murphy in singles action. He said, I believe I deserve a spot at NXT Takeover The End. Mr. Regal, can you please give me a match? And Mr. Regal, obviously, he obliged. He said, I love when hungry talents, take what they want. So you're going to be competing against Andrade. And that's how we got here. So I love the story of Ty being hungry. And I'd love, because this is only a 5-match card, I'd love to see this match get 15 minutes for an opener. Because I think if you give these guys 15 minutes, you make both of them. And here's the thing, Ashton. You already know how I feel about Andrade, just from the vignettes and just the hype. I haven't watched anything, and let me just let everybody know right now, that's deliberate. This isn't even trying to be a cute joke of, oh, Ashton's a real journalism and John's just along for the ride, because that's usually how it goes. I have deliberately been staying away from stuff because I want to be surprised. This is my first time seeing this guy at all. I'm very intrigued.
For what it's worth, this is only going to be the second match that I've ever seen him in, because the only other match I've seen him in was against Atlantis in CMLL, where he lost his mask.
Right, right.
So
And I'm just very excited. I mean, like I've said on Twitter, and like I think I even said live on a TwitWow, I haven't anticipated a debut this much since Kevin Owens. So I
wow.
am really looking forward to this. I do think he's going to win. But here's the thing, with all my anticipation, this is the greater point I wanted to make. That doesn't mean I want to take Ty Dillinger to the wood chipper, and just destroy everything he's got going on. You can make two guys in one match. You let them do their thing with 15 minutes. I mean, Nakamura is amazing, but those guys could really walk back into Gorilla and say, top that and have a chip on their shoulder. So I do think Andrade will win. My bigger hope, though, is that this match, given how it came together, gets time and really elevates Ty Dillinger more than anything else. Because I think Andrade will do fine. I'm really confident. It's Ty that I want people to really see. Like, wow, he can go. He should be in a better spot. So yeah, Andrade for the win. But let's hope some magic happens here.
Yeah, absolutely. And hey, just to kind of stick with the flow, magic happening. Let's talk about American Alpha versus the Revival.
I mean, dude, here's the thing, right? This is so funny because this is the obligatory rematch for the Revival. And obviously, I loved what they did at Dallas. I thought it was an amazing tag team match. I still think the best match in the tag team division, if I'm being honest, was Enzo and Cass versus the Revival at London. That match was insane. And I think it's going to
Really?
take it great over the top.
Huh.
Um,
That's funny. I honestly, even to this day, I feel like my favorite. Yeah, I think my favorite match in NXT as far as tag team matches go was American Alpha versus Gargano and Ciampa.
And I'm so glad you said that because it's an excellent segue. Because here's the thing I think the greater story at work here is American Alpha and Gargano and Champa.
Yeah.
That team beat the Revival on the last episode of NXT. So to me, the better story here because Gargano and Champa in a NXT Fallout on WWE's YouTube said we just want one more shot at American Alpha for the titles. They haven't forgotten that match just as much as you haven't forgotten it. And I think that's the story we're going to get ready to be told next is American Alpha and Gargano and Champa. So American Alpha with the easy retaining. I hope the Revival does something great after this. I don't know what they can do, but yeah, American Alpha to retain. I think they're going to have somewhat of a lengthy run with those titles if I'm being truthful. So what do you think, man?
I if it was just what makes more sense, of course American Alpha retains, but then you also have to take into account the brand split. And even though I do think there's a possibility that both of these teams will get called up due to the brand split, I think that if only one of them gets called up, it's gonna be American Alpha.
I would agree with your logic there with the brand split looming.
Which is a bit of a concern because if they do end up getting called up, and maybe Triple H even knows that when the brand split happens that American Alpha is going to get called up, he might put the title on the Revival just so that they don't have any kind of like jarring, like, oh, vacant title, tournament time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get what you mean. It's like a knee-jerk reaction, like, oh god, we have nobody tournament. Just pulls the lever. Oh man.
Yeah.
So you're thinking, what are you thinking here though with the brand split? Is that informing your decision at all?
I just want to put it out there that if the Revival does win, that is probably a really good sign that American Alpha is on their way to get called up, and the Revival is probably going to stick in NXT for a while. That being said, I'm still picking American Alpha.
All right, so you're picking American Alpha. Let's move on, I guess.
Up next, oh man, Asuka versus Nia Jax. This is the match that I care the least about.
See, now it's funny, Asha, because there was no point in bringing it up with Ty and Andrade, in my opinion, and I felt like you mentioned the brand split at an appropriate time with American Alpha and the Royal, because American Alpha is such a hot commodity right now. Do you see either of these women being affected by the brand split? What are your thoughts on this match?
No, I don't.
Okay, so they're both safe for right now.
I
All
think
right.
that these two are both going to be sticking in NXT for a little while. Honestly, I think Nia has a better chance of the call up than Asuka.
Yeah, see, I actually agree with you. I agree, because I was even getting ready to say, if I could pick a bigger threat, I think Nia, because A, Samoan, she's got those relations, and B, just her look, and I think they could use a
Right.
look like that in the future,
It's
maybe
one of
not
those
right now.
things where like Tamina has been on the main roster for like 8 years now, and she's never done anything. And
Right.
Nia being called up would be a way to make Tamina expendable. Like she would become obsolete because Nia is just a bigger, more imposing version of Tamina.
Exactly.
Same
Exactly.
lineage and everything.
I mean, to me, this is another matchup, too, with the whole American Alpha Revival thing. I just think Nia is more of an obstacle to get to Asuka Bailey too. That's
Yeah.
really all I see Nia as.
You
She's
really
just
think we're gonna get Asuka Bailey again?
dude, the whole injury was kayfabe, and I feel like if she was going to appear anywhere, like, because that's what I originally thought, like, oh, they're just doing it to write her out of NXT, go to the main roster. That hasn't happened yet. I honestly don't think it's going to happen. I think they want to tell that story, and that may be what goes for Takeover Brooklyn, because that would be the next Takeover, right? If there is another one, and we don't
Yeah.
know the status of takeovers, we don't. So maybe I'm talking out
What
of
do you
my
mean?
ass.
What do you mean?
Well, because I mean everybody's saying like take over the end. They don't know what the end means.
Dude,
There's been all that speculation about
we
that.
literally just got done listening to a Triple H conference call where he said we will be in Brooklyn on August 20th.
That is true. That is true. So I guess nothing really will change. And yeah, that's what I'm thinking is going to be the women's main event, Asuka Bailey. So yeah, I think Nia Jax is merely a roadblock, and they're going to tell that story in full with Asuka and Bailey. Asuka to retain, easy.
Yep, I agree. I think they told this story completely backwards. I think they should have had Nia beat Bailey back in London and then have her beat Bailey again at Dallas in the rematch. And then you have Asuka go after Nia after that match. And then you have a story because then Asuka is the one doing the chasing while Nia holds the title. And I think
Right.
that would have made for a much more interesting, much more comprehensive story than Asuka is champion, Nia's kind of bearing down on her. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
All right. Well, we both agree. We've agreed on everything so far. Andrade Cien Almas wins, American Alpha retains, Asuka retains. Up next is Nakamura versus Aries.
I think Nakamura wins.
Yeah, this is probably the match that I am waffling the most about. If for no other reason, because I feel like Austin Aries is going to turn heel, and that heel turn could lead to a win.
That is true.
Like the heel turn could be the reason he wins. Like maybe he, low blows Nakamura while the ref isn't looking or something.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Like I think that something that Aries does in the match is going to be his heel turn, and it could potentially lead to a win for him.
Yeah. See, my thing is, I think Aries is going to work heel because you're not going to exceed Nakamura's pop and his level of over in the confines of a match. It's just not going to happen. So I think Aries would say, well, fuck it. I'm getting some reaction, that being boos. Let me take it to its limit by being as heelish as I possibly can be. And so I agree that I think he's going to work heel. The thing is, though, I think Nakamura will overcome. I don't think the heel tactics will be enough. So while I do agree about the heel work from Aries, I don't think it'll result in a positive outcome for him. I'm still picking Nakamura to win.
Yeah, man. I'm just going to go through with it too. I'm just going to pick Nakamura to win and be done with it.
All right.
I don't want to keep agreeing with you, but we're probably going to be unanimous on this entire card.
I don't see. The funny thing is that I think it's almost poetic that we have all these agreements, but the biggest disagreement comes last if you're sticking to the guns that I think you're sticking with the main event, which we're there now. So do you want to talk about it?
Yeah, let's talk about Joe Balor.
Do you still believe that Balor's going to regain the championship?
I don't know, man. I guess my thing is, this whole brand split thing is just screwing everything up, isn't it?
It's screwing with both of our heads, right?
Because I'm thinking like I heard a rumor that Joe was going to be feuding with Sheamus going into SummerSlam.
That is such a weird feud to book.
I know it is, but that's the rumor that I heard. And you also kind of get this feeling with John Cena teaming up with the New Day that the club is going to want to add a fourth guy, and the only person that makes any sense at all is Balor.
Right.
So now we've got kind of a situation where both of these guys are probably going to get called up, and because of that, I'm kind of defaulting back to, well, they're doing this as a cage match so that the Demon doesn't have to get pinned or submitted.
And, well, I mean, yeah, dude, that's been my logic from the word go, because I've been very staunch that Joe is retaining.
Yeah.
Like, I think Balor only dropped the championship to begin. And see, this is my mindset. When you've got commodities like Balor, American Alpha, Bailey's kind of proving to be, well, actually, no, because I still believe they have a story to tell. My point is, when you have commodities that are champions dropping those championships, NXT's like, okay, you can get called up, but we really just want to tell this story first.
Yeah.
And this is the final chapter in the story. I think Finn's getting called up. It is still in the status of imminent to me. It always has been ever since Lowell, Massachusetts. And I completely agree with you. I think the cage exists, and I've been saying this too. Joe is going to escape, probably in the most heelish way, that being through the door. And so you protect the credibility of the Demon. Oh, the Demon didn't pass out or get pinned, but Joe's still the champion. That's the only reason this cage match exists, because I know a lot of people are happy about it, but let's be honest. Narratively speaking, it makes no sense. You even said that on the episode when it was announced and we could formally talk about it.
Yeah.
Like, that's the only reason this exists, is to keep Joe's reign going, which it should, because I want him to have his run, and he's, really doing, in my mind, the best heel work he can do, whether he gets pops or not. Like, I
Right.
love the
And
character.
you know what? Now that I think about it, with the imminent return of Hideo Itami, nobody makes more sense for Hideo to win the title from than Joe.
Exactly.
I mean, I guess you could pull a heel turn with Finn, but I don't know if they would even want to go through with that unless they were kind of priming him for the main roster so he could be with the club as a heel. I don't know.
Here's my thing, dude. Like, I again, totally get where you're coming from, so it's not necessarily that you're wrong. It's just, for me, if they would try and turn Balor heel at this point with his time in NXT and everything, it would just feel almost contrite. I don't think people would buy into it. They're already not really buying into it with Joe, and I know you raised that concern.
Yeah.
There's no way I think they could make it work with Balor. And I think on the main roster, when it's a fresh start, certainly we can talk about those possibilities more because it's more casual and all that good shit. But in NXT, no way. He's their hero. Like, he is the conquering hero to me. So I say Joe, via escaping through the door, retains the NXT championship, and then we see Balor hopefully as soon as possible. I'm not going to keep playing the guessing game, but I do think the next stop will be main roster.
Yeah, so. I think both these guys are main roster bound when it comes to the draft, man. I just, they're both so ready. It's just they're primed for it,
Absolutely. Well, you figure, I mean, with Joe, he's still at an age where he can give WWE his absolute best as far as main roster
right,
goes.
And the thing with Joe, too, is that he is one of a number of people that I can probably count on one hand who could have a legitimate program with Brock Lesnar.
Yes, dude.
Like,
yes.
Joe, like, out of all of the 12 people on this card, Nakamura and Joe are the only ones that have any believability against Lesnar.
Right.
So that's, like, having that believability factor against a guy like Lesnar, I think just does a ton for your stock and really for your main roster stock. But I don't know, maybe the WWE doesn't feel the same way because maybe the WWE's only concerned with putting Brock up against guys that are sort of already in that top tier rather than using him to establish people.
Exactly, yeah.
Because all we've seen Brock go against, other than Punk, which is really the one exception, it's been Triple H, it's been Roman, it's been Cena. That's it.
Right.
That's all of the people that Brock has had programs with.
And he had the match with Dean at WrestleMania, we can't forget.
Yeah, so. Well, that wasn't really so much a program as it was a slaughter.
That is true.
There was no legitimacy on Dean's end whatsoever. He lost to one F5.
Right. On a pile of chairs, but one F5 nonetheless.
Well, and then this was coming off of the heels of losing to one pedigree and one spear. Yeah,
a one-hit Dean Ambrose.
It's not one-hit KO, it's one-hit DA.
What's so fascinating, because I don't know, because, I mean, of course, like, we mutually check in on each other's Twitters from time to time, but I tweeted, I think, like, a few nights ago, that my top 3 NXT prospects that I would like to see as WWE World Heavyweight Champion, Nakamura, Balor, and Joe. But, like, where are those guys going to end up? Like, are they going to be Raw? Are they going to be SmackDown? Are they not even going to move for a good little bit? The draft really does change everything. And in the course of this preview and predictions, we've highlighted at least 4 talents in my mind, American Alpha, and then those 3 guys that we've just been talking about, as the biggest potential to get called up. And I don't know, man. I mean, maybe that's really what the end means. Even though there will still be takeovers and this and that, maybe that's going to be the swan song for those talents because they do seem so ripe for that next level. Yeah, I mean, and when you put that in perspective, some of these matches do become a bit harder to call. But I think Joe just got the belt. And I know a lot of people, I'm talking kayfabe-wise and talents, make a big deal about, I'm going to be the first 2-time NXT champion. I don't know if that's something that's ever really going to happen. Yeah, it just doesn't seem to me like something that they're going to be prone to do, at least not for a long while. And I don't think Balor's going to break that mold after his first run was already ridiculously long. I could have bought it with Sammy because he only had it for like a cup of coffee, it seemed like. But Balor had his freaking run. So I think, yeah, Joe retains and hopefully Balor gets called up. I don't know, man. Draft's going to be very intriguing to be sure.
Yeah, man. But until we get there, we just have to go on what we know. And what I know is that Joe just won the title, Asuka just won the title, and not the American Alpha just won the title, and all three of them are probably going to retain on Wednesday. So let's just,
Right.
I guess we can close it out with that, right?
Absolutely.
All right, guys. Well, leave some comments. Tell us what you think is going to happen on this show. If YouTube comment sections aren't quite enough for you, if you just can't get enough TwitWow, check out our Facebook page, check out our subreddit. John and I are both on Twitter as well, at John_TwitWow. That's John with an H. And at Apon404, rather than using the body of water explanation John does, I'm going to spell it out, APOND404. And I think that's about it. Check out Puitoff on Facebook. That's Pro Wrestling is Taking Over Facebook. I know sometimes people hear us say Puitoff and they're like, oh, what's that? I just spelled it out for you, people. Pro Wrestling is Taking Over Facebook. Facebook search that. If you can't find
Absolutely.
it, just tweet me. I already told you what my Twitter is, so I'll help you out. I helped at least two people to get into Puitoff already. I'm sure I can help you as well. That being said, let us know what you think about this show. Let us know who you think's going to win the matches. Are we in agreement entirely with everyone on the planet, or is it just between the two of us? We really are curious. That being said, we'll see you guys for our NXT Takeover the End live reactions tomorrow night, followed by our Lucha Underground live reactions after that, and then a Lucha Underground Twitwow as well. We'll see you all then. Have fun, and we know we will tomorrow.